welcome to the Accounting Advisory focus session today, and also to the wider Business Consulting Super Fair. Just to start off with, seem to have got about 80 or so people jumping in, so I might just kick it off. But to start off with, I'd like to firstly acknowledge and pay respects to the traditional custodians of the land. For me, I'm based here in Melbourne, so that is the Wurundjeri and the Boonwurrung peoples. I'd also like to pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging. Without much ado, we might kick off the event today. Now, for those, no, maybe it's probably everyone. My name is Sam, and I work for a company called Prosper, and we are team members. We're the team sort of hosting this event today in partnership with lots of different universities, and you might have joined from a university yourself, or we're also in partnership with our fantastic sponsors, Chartered Accountants. We've got Elise here from the team there as well. So thanks to the Chartered Accountants team. But yeah, we've got a whole bunch of great representatives from some leading accounting and advisory employers today. So we've got 120 or so we might kick off, and I might ask Elise to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Accru and also Chartered Accountants, if you can.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name's Elise Stowe. I'm a business services manager at Accru Felsers. We are a medium-sized chartered accounting firm in Sydney. We have 6 partners. We were established in 1941 by an Austrian fellow who was escaping war-torn Germany. And we still have connections with Germany. So we do a lot of work, tax work for Germans trying to do business in Australia, which makes everything a little bit more exciting. I actually grew up in a country town in Albury, Wodonga, so on the border of Mexico and New South Wales. And I started my career with a firm called RSM and did a cadetship with them. And I was also a part of the Chartered Accounting panel for the regional panel in Albury. And so then when I moved to Sydney, I was like, I need to stay involved. So that's when I was successful to be a member on the Young Chartered Accounting panel. And I've been on the panel since 2017. I'll roll off towards the end of this year. And my goal on the panel is to try and educate and to enlighten the community about chartered accountants, and to also teach tax in schools and superannuation in schools. So that's one of my goals, and hopefully I've been to 1 school so far, and hopefully by the end of this year I'll have gone to a few other schools. So that's a bit about me and my firm.
Awesome. Thanks, Elise. Samantha, you got your mic off mute, so I might throw you under the bus next. Tell us a little about yourself and KordaMentha.
No worries. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining. My name is Samantha Payno. I'm the People and Culture Manager here at KordaMentha. A little bit about KordaMentha. It's an investment and advisory firm, and the reason that we describe it in that way is that what we do is quite broad. It's not your typical accounting firm. We don't do audit and tax. Our service lines are much more specialised. So we have a restructuring division. That team works with businesses that are in financial distress to essentially try to turn that business around. We can also assist them to prepare for sale, or if that's not an option, we can also help them to cease operations and repay their creditors. We also have a forensic practice as well, and that's actually one of Asia Pacific's largest forensic practices, and they work across forensic accounting, dispute analysis, data analytics, and even digital forensics as well. Outside of the accounting realm, we also have service offerings in real estate, corporate capital, to name a few. So quite diverse and quite specialised. So that's just a little bit about KordaMentha.
Awesome. Thanks, Samantha. And Heather, tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm one of the graduate recruitment managers for Deloitte. So I've been with Deloitte for 6 years and counting now, but been in the recruitment industry for a long time, helping young professionals, start their career. So really excited to have you on board today. So for those of you who don't know Deloitte, we are a professional services firms. So we are considered one of the big four accounting firms, although probably more than half our business now really considers themselves a consulting firm. So we do a little bit of everything. So no matter what degree you've got, we've probably got a job for you. So I look after audit and assurance nationally across Australia, but we also have financial advisory, risks advisory, tax, we've got consulting, we've got our internal client services. So quite a wide variety of business units that we have, and really just getting together to help solve our clients' problems. So we've been around for 175 years. Recently we combined with Deloitte Asia Pacific, so lots of great exciting new opportunities there, and we've just moved into a brand new building on Collins Street in Melbourne, which I'm super excited about. So yeah, I am in the office today, and yeah, look forward to telling you everything you'd like to know about Deloitte.
Whereabouts on Collins, Heather?
Just next to the Rialto.
Oh, I'll have to come visit.
Yeah, we did knock down one of my favourite bars to build this new building though, which is a bit of a shame. Hagues is nice close by. I'm still working out the new cafes, but yeah, it's a very high-tech building, and I'm learning my way through it.
Nice one. Steph, I'm going to throw you under the bus. Lastly, tell us about yourself, a bit about Pitcher Partners Melbourne.
Hello, everybody. My name is Stephanie. I am the People Experience Advisor at Pitcher Partners. So that involves looking after all things early careers, so all of our student programs, but also supporting people once they are in the business as well. In terms of who Pitcher Partners are, we have been around for 30 years this year. We broke away from KPMG back in the day to specialise within that middle market. So that middle market is clients probably around up to that 500, 800 mil in revenue mark. We kind of sit in between Deloitte and KordaMentha in the sense of we are a professional services firm and we are accounting and advisory. So we are a little bit more broad than KordaMentha, but not as big and not as consulting as Deloitte. So we are predominantly business advisory and assurance and private clients. But in addition to that, we do have a variety of more specialised areas like business recovery and insolvency, tax, data and analytics. However, the vast majority of students and grads we do bring into our firm is accounting-based students. We are a national firm, so Pitcher Partners is all throughout Australia, and we are connected to a conglomerate of firms across the world called the Baker Tilly Group, which is great because it does allow for that international connection and opportunities when you are allowed to travel again.
All right. Well, thanks to all our panelists for a bit of the intro there. We might get stuck into the fun part, which is I've got some questions for the team that were already sent through in advance for some of the grads. However, for any of our attendees on the call today, if you have any burning questions as well, feel free to chuck them in the chat function or in, there's already one coming through, or in the Q&A part of the webinar as well. If we have time, we'll get to them as well. If not, keep them on hand and make sure you're jumping into any of the booths, Deloitte booths, KordaMentha booths, etc., to find out a little bit more from them themselves, because the team will all be in their exhibitor booth just after this session. But Elise, I'm going to throw under the bus first and foremost. Can you tell us a piece of advice you'd like to give to students on the call, aspiring to work within Accru or within the wider, accounting advisory sector more broadly?
So my advice to you students would be to look to secure some sort of cadetship. So I know most of you, if you went through the Australian school system, a lot of the guys seem to peel off and do apprenticeships, and then they get a trade, and by the time they're 18, they're like fully qualified. So my advice to you would be, whilst you're doing university, try and reach out. So firms like Accru, RSM obviously did, but Accru take on cadets every January. So we've just taken in 4 cadets. So we support you whilst you're finishing uni, but then also you've entered the workforce. So you're doing uni and entering the workforce, and you can combine the knowledge you're learning at uni and at work to progress and begin your career. I would also say, always say yes to opportunities. So if someone comes up to uni and says, come and be a part of this club, learn something, meet these people, come to a networking event, learn something, push yourself out of your comfort zone. You're never going to learn while you're just sitting in your comfort zone. So continuously try and say yes and be challenged. I know it's hard during COVID and remote learning, but you're obviously here on this, listening to this panel call today. So that's a good start. As a chartered accountant, I would say that you always need to try and find a resolution, then find another problem. So when someone gives a problem to you, or a client, gives you a problem, it's always trying to look at how you can resolve the problem rather than going to someone and just saying, I have this problem, without any thought to a resolution. And my last comment, sorry, Sam, would just be to think of learning as lifelong learning. When I did uni, I thought this is a hurdle, I need to tick a box. Then when I became a chartered accountant, I'm like, I just need to finish my CA, I need to tick another box. I've now enrolled in to do my Masters of Taxation, and I've sort of put a spin on it that I want to learn, I want to get as much out of this degree as possible. And I wish I had that train of thought when I was at uni doing my undergrad degree and doing my chartered accounting diploma, because I just think that any type of education and lifelong learning is so important. So just always try and put a positive spin on things, and always try and get the most out of every learning opportunity that's put in front of you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Elise. Steph, same question. Any advice you'd give to students applying, aspiring to work in, professional services, accounting advisory, more broadly?
Yeah, definitely. I think my number one piece of advice is acknowledging and reassuring students that it's okay to not know what you want to do with your degree. I think there is a lot of pressure on students when you are studying a Bachelor of Accounting, or you're studying some form of commerce degree around professional services, and knowing where you want to go, because there is a lot of opportunities out there where you are applying for a specific team, i.e. you're applying to the audit team or the management consulting team and so forth. And I think it's really okay to not know what you want to do, because doing a commerce-based degree is extremely broad, the landscape and the opportunities you have presented in front of you. And it's okay to apply for multiple, but what I would say is really do your research around. And there are some really great programs out there that allows you to try before you buy, through doing summer vacation programs or cadetships or co-op opportunities. It's allowing you to get a broad range of experience. So by the time you do go into that graduate recruitment season and applying for those permanent positions, you get a broader understanding around what you're actually enjoying and what you're not enjoying. So I would really also encourage you to reach out to networks through LinkedIn, through different university events, and start to get an understanding of the different areas within professional services firms, so you can have a little bit more knowledge going forward when it does come to applying for different grad programs and different opportunities with firms.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you're doing a bit of I think the last half an hour of the fair today, in your booth, you're going to be talking a little bit more about general application tips and how to stand out from the crowd. Is that on the right track there? Hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. So middle half an hour, we're talking about our grad experience program, which is our new rotational based grad program. And then the last half hour, I'm talking about tips and tricks within the recruitment process.
Awesome. Sorry to just throw you under the bus and deviate a bit, but we'll flag that for anyone had follow-up questions. I might throw to Heather very quickly. I've actually got I'm going to deviate from the standard questions I told you about. And there's a good question here about what's the key difference between advisory and consulting? From a Deloitte perspective, can you sort of answer that very quickly for us?
Oh, I can try. And I must say, I prefer it when the business representatives who work in the consulting advisory answer these questions, because they can obviously talk to it better than me. However, when I do speak to my advisory teams, they do say to me, well, we're not accounting, we're consulting. So, I think, the auditors, do the auditing, and the advisory, don't consider themselves to be as accounting. They consider themselves to be, more that consulting consulting. So not heaps of difference. I guess it just depends. When you're a consultant, you've got to think about what are you consulting on. You could consult on anything. And I guess with Deloitte, to give you a good example of that, if you apply to our consulting area, you could be consulting in the finance space to CFOs. But likewise, you could also be consulting on technology. You could also be consulting on, human resources. You could be consulting on lots of different things. So I think, that giving advice versus doing, a stock take, which you might do in audit, is probably the best way that I can communicate it. But, speak to the reps on our booth later today and they can give you a lot more information, and potentially some of the others on this panel, I'm sure, can probably answer that better than me. I was a psychology grad. I do have to be honest, I didn't study accounting.
So I threw you under the bus a little bit there, Heather. I might give you a bit of a funner one as a follow-up question. What does Deloitte look for in an application from grads or vaccies or cadetships? And is there anything they need to show to progress to the next round, particularly you're looking
That
for?
I can definitely answer. And I did see a question on the chat around, academic record. So, I can help to answer that question at the same time. And some of the others on the panel might say similar things, but it'd be great to hear the differences. But we do look for a well-rounded candidate. So to answer that question, yes, we do look at your academics. Part of our process does involve uploading an academic transcript, but it's certainly not the only thing that we look at, and we certainly wouldn't rule someone out purely based on academics. We look at your resume, so we look at the experience you've had. Maybe you've had some hospitality or retail experience, great. If you've had some industry experience, can be tricky to get, but do encourage you all to do, any internships that, vacation programs that you can get, that will absolutely help, but certainly not a requirement. So, that volunteer work, the student societies, even sporting, make sure you've got a nice, well-rounded application. Those are the sorts of things that we look at.
Fantastic. Samantha, I might ask the same question to you. Is there anything KordaMentha particularly looks for in an application? And again, anything that they should really showcase to progress through each of the stages?
Yeah, definitely. My answer is probably quite similar to Heather's. We also look for a well-rounded candidate, and I think Heather touched on some really good points there about volunteering and, any work experience, whether it is, McDonald's or Coles or something like that, just a part-time opportunity through to your internship, specific within the accounting industry. But at the end of the day, what we look for is the interest in the field. And while you might not know that completely at this point in your career, knowing why you're interested in applying for us or why you want to, get some exposure or experience into the particular service line that you're applying for is great. But we also want to get to know you as a person. So, what are your hobbies and interests? What sporting things do you get involved in? Are you really passionate about community work or anything like that? What motivates you as well is really important. And at the end of the day, a lot of what we do here at KordaMentha isn't your typical number crunching accounting. So the communication skills and problem solving and interpersonal skills are really key. So we also look for, demonstration of that. So if you're able to kind of demonstrate those sorts of things within your application, you'd be pretty well placed to move forward, and just highlight your strengths and let us get to know you as much as we can from a piece of paper.
So you're not looking for there's a question here about, is there a particular character that you're looking for, a particular personality, or anything like that? Is there anything like that that's involved, or are you looking for lots of different?
No, I think that's probably the most important thing for a business is to have that diversity. And that's not just diversity in terms of gender, it's about diversity of thought and experiences and everything like that. So no, there's no one typical stock standard cookie cutter person or accounting student that we look for. And I think that I'm probably speaking on behalf of everyone on the call with that. Yeah, we want to get to know you as a person and go from there.
While we're still on the topic of the recruitment process and things like that, I think everyone sort of summarized it a little bit, but Steph, is it do pitcher partners particularly need a grad or a student to have done an internship either with yourself or with anyone else before they start, or how do you look at your future grads?
Yeah, definitely not. It's not a requirement for individuals who apply for us to have any form of internship experience or any form of corporate experience before applying to us. Everyone has a different personal situation, so they may not have the ability to do internships or work part-time whilst they are studying. So not a prerequisite at all. However, what I would say is Grad Australia and Prosper have done some amazing initiatives around virtual internships, which is something that you can do in your own time at home. It's a lot less of a demand. It's only a few hours for you to do. And it's a great way for you to get an understanding around what that particular business does and what that area does. So I would encourage you to also have a look at those out there as well. It's a great way to get experience, and it helps you build rapport when you do go through the recruitment process. If you can say, hey, look, I did your virtual internship. I absolutely loved this. Can you tell me more about this particular topic? But no, definitely not a prerequisite to have any form of formal experience.
Awesome. I might throw to Elise. But there's a question in here about COVID and the like. I think everyone here could probably have talk about their own experience and whatnot. But how's COVID reacting in Accru and across chartered accountants as well? Like, what have you seen the industry change and working from home and all that sort of stuff?
So I'm a New South Wales Welshman, so I'm lucky enough to be in Sydney sometimes. And then, so for me, look, most of our workforce work from home, but I was able to secure a car park downstairs, so I managed to drive in most days. COVID for me was the hardest thing was managing the team via Teams, pretty much. So it became virtual. I like having conversations with my team. You know, there's 7 within my team that I have to work with every day whilst we manage a portfolio and ensure that we meet clients' needs. I would say the most difficult thing about COVID was the JobKeeper legislation and the fact that it was given to Treasury, so Josh Frydenberg, to decide what was going to happen with JobKeeper. So it was, continuously talking with clients, making sure that they had all the information that they needed, making sure that we had completed applications in a timely manner. And then obviously, because we have a lot of clients in Germany, it was trying to get, reach out to them and, the language barrier and determine, all right, this is the information we need. This is what aggregated turnover means, doing all this, this stuff to make sure that the clients were looked after in the JobKeeper space, I would say was the most difficult item of COVID. But besides that, I think that Accru did really well. We created a team, like a task force, to work on COVID items, such as, I was on the JobKeeper task force team. So it just allowed everyone else to sort of just keep plugging along and getting their work done whilst the task force focused on getting the information out to everyone else on the COVID information that we needed.
Awesome. While we're on that topic as well, Heather, 2020, difficult year for everyone, I think Val said. Grad recruit season might be a bit tricky for everyone. Everyone's feeling very, very nervous. Got any advice on how to stay resilient for everyone here?
Well, I've got maybe some good news that might make people feel better about it. So I think, for Deloitte, we recovered better than we thought we might, which was a good story. So, our graduate numbers are looking really high for this grad recruitment season and our vacationers. So, certainly something in the audit and assurance space. We used to hire a lot of our, senior analysts, managers, directors from Deloitte firms overseas. We used to have quite a lot of people coming from overseas to work for Deloitte. And of course, with the borders shut, we don't have that talent coming in anymore. So it's even more important that we recruit more grads who we can train and develop to be the future leaders of our firm. And it means you might be getting, more opportunities and getting exposure to more things than you would have in the past. And I think think COVID did, obviously bring around lots of challenges, and completely empathise, with the students, and I guess everyone in this crazy year that we've had. But I think there have been some positives that have come out of it as well. And certainly, this virtual way of working has obviously brought around benefits in terms of, for some people, that flexibility. Certainly, I have found that really great, but I'm ready for the connection. That's why I'm back in the office now. But I think, we've been able to get to know our colleagues interstate so much better. So instead of just talking, to the, if you're an auditor in Melbourne, doing everything with the auditors in Melbourne, you now know everyone across the whole country, that's maybe doing the same type of work with you, and connecting with people that would have been too hard with, flights and meetings and all the rest of it. So I think there are positives to come out of it. But in terms of staying resilient, obviously well-being is really key and really focused. So, we do, like a lot of firms, provide you with a buddy when you begin. You have a coach as well, and you have a counselling partner. So you have a dedicated team there to support you and work through it all. And given that we've been through it the last year, we've got a lot better at doing things virtually. So we believe, that we can certainly help this year's graduates, even more than we helped last year's graduates as well. And I could probably talk about that for a lot longer, but I know there are other questions coming. But I think, try to be positive about it. I have been really pleasantly surprised to see that a lot of students did quite well last year. I think if I was a student, I think, I probably would have struggled. So hopefully some of you are still feeling positive about how last year went. But if you're not, don't worry. As we've said, academics aren't everything, and we are looking for that, well-rounded person, promote your unique difference, whatever that might be.
Fantastic. Thanks, Heather. Samantha, for students who land a job with you, any advice for how they should survive and thrive in their first year particularly? Like, is there anything they shouldn't do?
Okay, I like this question. I think that the first year of your career is always a really busy one. There is a lot to learn, and you're naturally going to be put on a bit of a steep learning curve. So I think a piece of advice would be not to be scared of that learning curve. We as employers know that you don't know everything, and we are there to help you, and so are your teams, and we want you to succeed. So I think try not to be too hard on yourself during that learning curve. And I think, for the rest of your career, in addition to the learning curve, asking questions, don't be afraid to ask questions. Again, we know that you don't know everything. So speaking up and understanding what your role is, what the tasks that you're doing, how they actually fit in with the bigger picture. It's going to make you a much better business person if you can understand your role and how that fits in. And it will put you in good stead for, as you progress through. I think just another piece of advice would just be to speak up if you are struggling. You are naturally going to be really keen to take on a lot and take on probably too much because you want to impress and everything, and we understand that. But I think knowing when you need to ask for help is a skill that you do need to develop. And I think for early stages of your career, doing that earlier rather than later is really important. And no one's going to, be angry at you for saying, look, I overcommitted myself. I'm really sorry. I'm not going to be able to meet that deadline. They're going to go, okay, well, let's put some things in place so it doesn't happen again. And then you as an individual can work towards that to make sure it doesn't happen again, and you learn from that experience. So to summarize, I think ask questions, don't be afraid of that learning curve, and speak up if you are struggling, because we know there's a lot to take in.
Fantastic. Steph, same question. Any extra advice you might give for people in their first year, or even just in the industry more broadly, getting their first sort of steps? How do you what sort of tips do you give to your grads when they start to survive and thrive?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a massive transition into working full time. Those first kind of few months, you were just permanently exhausted working the big hours and taking it all in, because it's such an information overload. All of us on the call have multiple grads and multiple vaccies coming in at once. So leverage the networks and leverage your cohort, because they're going through the same experiences with you. So have those conversations, build the relationships with them, but also know that it is okay to speak up and that it's okay to struggle and ask questions. And the biggest tip that I will always give is be transparent and be honest. Have those conversations when you don't understand something. Ask again in a meeting if you miss something. Speak to your manager, speak to your buddy, speak to another member of the organization, because no one wants you to fail and no one wants you to drown. So make sure that you do have those conversations and voice how you are feeling.
Fantastic. All right, I've only got about a minute or so left, so I'm going to fire you each one question, a quick question each. Elise, will start with you. Actually, it's going to be the same question, but one sentence. Why should grads apply and students more broadly apply for a role within Accru, or even just within chartered accountants and more broadly? Like, give us a quick spiel.
Okay, you should apply for Accru when we offer cadetship programs or grad programs, because Accru to me doesn't feel like work. It's just a great opportunity. The team is great and the clients, it's like the ultimate trifecta. And chartered accountants will give you a more broad understanding and learning, and lifelong learning is the key.
Steph, your mic's off, so I'm throwing you under the bus now. Same thing, one sentence. Why should people apply? Why should grads apply to Pitcher Partners?
Yeah, definitely. You should apply to Pitcher Partners if you want to make your career personal and build a breadth of experience before you go on to that specialization and depth phase.
Samantha, you're next on my list. Why should everyone apply to KordaMentha?
I think that the reason that you should apply for KordaMentha is that it is quite diverse. So you're not going to be doing your typical accounting work. You are going to be able to make moves into a particular service line of interest from the get-go. So it is different. It's exciting. You get to work with clients from the get-go. So highly recommend it. Come and chat to us at our booth.
Last but not least, Heather, why should grads consider and vaccies and students more broadly consider a career in Deloitte?
Well, quite honestly, I think you'd be lucky to work for any of the firms that we have on this call. I mean, we all have, similar things. There's some things I was going to say you guys have already mentioned, so I'll try not to list the same things. And I always feel a bit, funny saying all the best things, but I'm going to say the tagline. So we are the number one professional services worldwide. So the opportunities that you're going to get with us are absolutely endless. So yes, when you can travel, you can do secondments overseas, you can travel the world. You've got access to the biggest clients, but also the small clients. We have a private services area as well, so you can sort of choose what you want to do. With 6 business lines, so many opportunities. I think the development is there, the variety is there, but the big one for me, and the reason that I joined, is absolutely the culture. We're all about collaboration and solving our problems, clients together, and not just for our clients. We do a lot in the community space, and obviously we focus quite a lot on our people as well. So culture is the number one thing for me.
Awesome. Well, that just about wraps up our focus session for today. A big thank you to all of our panelists, Elise, Heather, Steph, and Samantha for your time today. For everyone else on the call, now, we'll be jumping off now, but in terms of that question before about feeling insecure and what roles are out there, there are 80 employers ready to talk to you in the rest of the business careers fair, including all of the ones on the call today, but there is such a huge range of roles out there. Speaking from Prosper, we work with lots of different employers across the country, graduate, intern, etc. Students. There's plenty of opportunities out there, so go get amongst it. Go ask your great questions. Get the vocals going. My suggestion would be you'll be jumping into a Zoom call, have your camera on as much as possible. I'm seeing a lot of nodding from the panelists here. It definitely stands out when you can see your face. Ask some great questions. Check out the agenda, see what's good on as well. But yeah, good luck today. But we'll wrap it up there. Thanks to everyone again for joining, and for the panelists again today. And good luck to everyone today.